Okay, so we have another video, and in this video I'm cleaning a graphics card that was given to me by a friend of mine, which we are gonna try to sell. Unfortunately, electricity is too expensive. It's not really worth mining with this graphics cards. So here is the tools I'm using. It's basically just alcohol and two different kinds of brushes and a lot of paper towels. So here I start with a dry brush and just get all the rough stuff off first of all. So just making a really good, because the fans and the whole cooling part below is very important to avoid to burn any of the GPUs. So this part is extremely important, and most people don't really think about how important it is to clean your computer or your whatever it is that you have. Here I need to use some extra force. Yeah, these were extremely clogged. You're gonna see what I mean in a second here. Just hold on. Sorry once again for the narrative that I once again are doing, but I live in a very loud neighborhood. I wouldn't be able to record this at the same time, and unfortunately I don't have a computer that I can keep close enough to connect my headset that works with Bluetooth, because that's what I'm gonna need. Uh, but yeah, I'm doing the best. Here I'm removing the backplate. Oh well, the whole backplate is not gonna come loose yet. I'm just losing the screws. And after losing these screws, I will be able to take off the fans and disconnect the fans and the whole assembly for them and remove them in just a moment. Yeah, in this case I'm actually removing the smaller screws at the same time while I'm there. And I'm putting in, I love this repair mat because I have its magnets in it, so they're gonna keep the screws in it. They're gonna attach to them as long as it's steel screws and not aluminum or anything else. Here I realized it's actually easier to remove the whole fan assembly first of all. And here remove the cable, and here you can see how clogged it is. You see how badly this is, how badly clogged this is. This is not just dust, this is dust and humidity. It literally clogged the whole thing. It has not been breathing well, I can promise you that much. And now out of camera, I'm cleaning off the first part of the backplate to make sure that that's clean and ready. And then I'm basically just using a dry paint brush with short bristles. I cut the bristles off a little bit just to get a little bit, not too much, because too much might poke things off the motherboards, and you don't want to remove any components. You just want it to be a little bit abrasive to move all that dust around. Here I'm using an old toothbrush and just rubbing away the worst part before I continue, everything that I can collect in my hands and remove, because the rest of it is, it's gonna need to be cleaned with alcohol and another bristle. All right. All right. So the first part is done. I'm just blowing it off a little bit to not get all the dust up. I'm basically just blowing everything down on the floor. I'm gonna clean that up when I'm finished. But just to have somewhere to put it, because I don't want to blow all that dust and crap up on the workbench, because that's just gonna make everything worse. I'm gonna still gonna need to clean my workbench after this, but by doing this I'm minimizing the amount of work. And now I'm removing the cooler part, or the, I don't really know what it's called in English, but the cooling block, or the, yeah, never mind. It's not important. The more important part is I'm removing it here to be able to clean it properly and do a proper cleaning job instead of just. Otherwise, I would just, I would just have rubbed it off and get it going as soon as possible. But in this case, since I'm not using this graphics card, I'm not in a rush for anything. Here I'm just making sure that it's not too much dust and shit laying around, because I'm gonna have to remove a couple of cooling pads in a second here. There we go. Yeah, they have never been apart. The thermal paste is so hard and so brittle. This has never been apart since it was created. It's just been abused. So this was definitely time. And here I'm just removing the small pads. So enjoy. Yeah, I know it's not that fun to look at, but what you gonna do? All right. I removed all of the cooling pads, whatever we're gonna call them. Now it's time to keep working. Oh yeah, here I'm brushing off. I know you can't see it on camera, but I'm brushing off the bottom side and through the whole cooler. So all the bristles are reaching just all the way through. So I'm scrubbing and I'm blowing at the same time to get all the dust and all the dirt and all the crap out from there. And I'm gonna be back in a second. There we go. I'm back, and now I need to clean off. Yeah, you see that there is no. I've been trying to clean these off. I tried one before just as a test before I made a video, and I tried to clean it with just isopropyl alcohol, but that wouldn't bite. This is sitting so hard. You need to scrape it off. Smaller parts you can kinda get away with alcohol, but this is this is what you need to do to get the worst part off, because it's been so long. It's impossible to just wipe it off. There is no way. So here I'm preparing my second brush, I marked one of them with a little bit of black marker, because that's the one that I use dry, and it's just because the dry one I need to keep dry. If it gets wet, it gets wet, and I can use it wet, but I can't use it for dry stuff if it gets wet. So it's important to keep them separated. And here I'm basically just cleaning it off, and if you look at the paper towels, you can see how much crap is getting absorbed from what I'm doing. A lot of it is of course coming from the brush also, so a lot of it is coming from our side of the paper towel, so to speak, but still there is a ton that gets absorbed and removed. And here I'm just dragging off everything to make sure that we get all the dust and all the debris and dirt and crap away. But if you look around the graphics card now, you can see all the dust and all the dirt that comes off just by doing this. It does accumulate a lot depending on where you live and how you live. Where I'm living, for example, I have to clean my computer at least every second month. There is no way otherwise. It's gonna get overclogged because there is so much dust and so much dirt and debris and crap blowing up from the street, clogging the computer. And as soon as it gets clogged, you start noticing right away that you're losing a lot of the computer's power. So here we are back with the motherboard, or the board per se. So here I'm just cleaning off, carefully just removing all the dried up thermal paste that doesn't really do anything anymore. It's just there for aesthetics. You can see a bit of my forehead there, and yes, I always wear a hat, in case you wondered. I don't think anyone did, but just in case. Here I'm carefully scraping it off, so I have a clean surface to work with. And it's no problem to scrape it off, but you can't really push too much. You just, it's almost like with lottery tickets. Don't scratch too hard because then you're gonna break it. And here just some isopropyl alcohol to make sure that I get everything away. I'm gonna go over all of this with a brush anyway, but this was just an extra thing to make sure that all of that is gone. And I'm back with alcohol on my brush, and here I'm just going over everything. Everything. You see how much it splashes and how much dirt and dust and shit there is that just flies off the brush when I come closer to the ends. This is also why I'm using the paper towel and doing this, because this way I'm absorbing and removing. Otherwise I would have to flush it off with alcohol also, and I don't really have that much alcohol. I don't want to go crazy with that. So it's easy just to absorb it. And worst case, I might have to do this one more time, but that's fine with me as long as I'm sure that I get everything away, and everything is working afterwards, which I can guarantee that it will. Because I don't only use this to wipe it off, I use this to wipe off and get off all the dust. But when I got all the dust and everything off, I use my hot air gun on low heat, just making sure. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do it in a second here actually. That's just to make sure that there is no alcohol left. I don't think it's gonna be a problem because alcohol is not conductive, so it shouldn't be an issue, but still. Oh, look at that. I'm actually keeping going. I actually keep on going. I recorded this before I made this narrative. So that's why it sounds like I don't really know what I'm doing, but it's because I recorded the video the day before. So I'm looking at the video and explaining what I'm doing at the same time. And here I keep on doing the same thing, using the paper towel and a brush and going over everything because it absorbs all the dust and all the crap. And if you look at the left side of the paper, you can see how brown it is. That's all the dust and all the crap that's been sticking to the motherboard that are getting freed up now because I'm using this technique. I think it's very important, and I'm not aiming to get this in 100% first class, best of the best of the best. Aiming to get this back in working order, and that's it. These graphics cards is a friend of mine contacted me and told me he had them. If I would have anywhere to set this up and set up a proper farm, then I would do it. But the problem is that the electricity is way too expensive. And here I'm again. And here I'm just using very low heat with my hot air gun and just making sure that all the alcohol is getting evaporized. And nothing fancy, it's just low heat because heat evaporates alcohol. So here I think I have like 150 degrees or something on the hot air gun, just to make sure that everything that might be under the CPU and everything, that I don't think the alcohol is going to be a problem, but if it drags crap with it underneath, it might be an issue. So that's why I want to dry everything out. I don't think it's going to be a problem anyway, but better safe than sorry. And last part of the card, and there is a lot of dust here also. It has accumulated during a long time. You can't really tell that well on the video now after cleaning, but I do have some before and after photos that I might upload together with this video. You saw here, I go back here again because there was so much dust still. I could see it clogging up, so that's why I went back to this particular spot and cleaned it again, to make sure that we got all the dust and all the, well, at least 90% of it. I mean, not everything is gonna disappear. I'm not gonna do, I'm not gonna go crazy. I want it to be clean and I want it to look good and I want it to work properly, which is all gonna go or do after this. And I promise, it's still about 95% clean. There might be some dust left, but you can't really reach all the corners without starting to remove components. And I ain't gonna do that. I can promise you that much. And here we go. Now the board is cleaned because this is the only side that had dust or anything on it. The other side had a little bit, but I could remove that before I even started the video with a dry brush. So the board is cleaned. I'm just putting it down. And here is the other part. And here I'm just aligning them so I can just sandwich them together when I have everything put in place. And now I'm putting back all the cooling pads. And the pads I'm putting back now, they are protecting small ships. Some of the ships are for RAM, and these ones are 4 gigs, and there is 8 ships for the RAM. So I would say that each ship is half a gig. And the RAM is not necessarily gonna get that hot. The CPU is a lot more important. Of course, it's important to keep everything cold, especially the parts that actually do produce a lot of heat. In this case, though, the RAMs they are gonna get hot, and especially when they are used in the fashion that they are. In this case, these ones were coming from a mining rig, and so they have been pushed to the limit for every second of their life up until now. So I haven't tested them. I don't really have a computer. I don't really have a rig that are compatible with these cards, so I have no way of plugging them in and making sure that they actually work afterwards. So that's kind of a little bit of an issue, but it's not really that big of a problem because I'm not concerned. All the parts are still there. There is nothing lost. The only thing I could imagine is if something is broken. Here I'm putting some new thermal paste. Not too much, not too little, just perfect, just where you want it. Just a little bit of a bead right over. That's gonna be more than enough because there is so little space. I usually look when I take something apart, like a CPU or a GPU or whatever I'm taking apart, to clean it. I usually look at the chipset when I'm removing all the excess just to see, okay, it was about this much in between, because that gives you a little bit of an idea of how much you need to squeeze out once you start getting, well, once you start getting more. Here I'm actually failing a bit because I'm putting the screw in the hole and I'm brave enough to think this is gonna work, but no, I'm dropping the screwdriver and everything is flying away from me. It's almost embarrassing, almost, but I don't really care that much. I'm just putting everything together now. All the pads are back. I put some new thermal paste, and now I'm putting the screws back. And once this is done, I'm gonna start clean off the whole fan assembly and everything also, which is gonna take almost as long as this part. Here I'm just tightening it up a little bit just to make sure that everything is sitting exactly where it's supposed to sit before I'm putting in more screws, because otherwise it's gonna be a bit annoying to try to find the exact holes for them. Now I have both hands to work with. Not really that it helps because there you go, the screw flew away. But we're back at it. Oh, this video is really long already. Sorry guys. Sorry. Sorry. But we are nearing the end of this video now. Here I'm just making sure that all the screws are tightened properly. There was one left. Now all of them are done. And just checking that everything is okay. And checking the other side to make sure that I haven't missed anything, or make sure that there is no big clumps of dust or crap. You could see the corrosion. There was some white dust. That's just corrosion. That's very hard to get rid of. And we are back again. This is step 2. I actually took a break in between and went out with my dog for an hour or two to give her a little bit of some freedom, get out to run and get out to play, and yeah, all that stuff. So here I'm cleaning the fans, and I begin with a dry brush. Exactly the same type of brush I'm using with alcohol, but with this is the dry one, and I don't want to get it wet. I need to keep them separated, so that's why I mark them. Because if the dry one gets wet, then I'm screwed. If the wet one gets wet, then fine, because it's gonna get wet sooner or later anyway. And here I am, just cleaning away. There is big clogs of dust and debris and crap that's been blowing around these things. So here I'm just cleaning all of that out. And it's nothing fancy, it's just a lot of brushing, so I'm gonna let you enjoy. keep an eye on the paper towel after this. And this is just what I'm getting off the fan blades and from the fan assembly. This is nothing compared to what I have to brush up from my floor, because this is just one card. I did 7 within a couple of days. And yeah, I promise you it was at least 3 or 4 handfuls. It was a lot of dust clogging these graphics cards, so hopefully they're gonna perform a lot better now. So yeah, enjoy. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. And that just with a dry brush. So here I'm just folding it together. I'm just gonna throw this away in the trash. And putting out some new paper towels, and that's basically just to absorb all the dust and shit and crap. And even if something would be ending up on the bench underneath, fine, I'm gonna have to clean this anyway, but this is just to keep all the dust from flying around. And yeah, it's gonna be absorbed into the paper instead of flying around all over the room and being nuisance. I'm not entirely sure what I went away and got in this case, but there was something I was missing. I can't really remember. No, there was actually someone ringing on my door. So I went and checked it. It was just a mailman. So it was nothing important. I will be back in a second. And I'm back. Filling up with some more alcohol. And I'm still looking around for somewhere locally to source both tools and everything else that I'm using, like isopropyl alcohol, because now I'm ordering it online and I would rather sponsor a smaller place and pay them for when I really need it. I don't care if it's a little bit more expensive to go to a local place, but oh, look at this. Look at this. This was so clogged with dust, the whole assembly. Yeah, you see how dirty that got? And that was just round 1. This is round 2. And there is still so much more coming off. I have to take another ton. No, I actually go over the blades. They were, I mean, they were bad, but not too bad. You could still salvage them. Everything just needed some time and some love. This graphics card has just been standing without anyone paying any attention to them for I don't know how long. I have no idea. But for some time, I can say, just by looking at the amount of dust and crap that's coming off them. And I'm trying to get in every corner, every nook and cranny, and trying to make sure that I get as much as away as possible. And I'm always using isopropyl alcohol, and it's because you can use like hand sanitizers also if you want to. It's gonna work just as well when it comes to dissolving all the grease and all the dust and all the crap that gets, because that's the thing, it's not just dust, it's also a lot of grease and shit that gets sucked into the computer or whatever you're using, and that grease is gonna entrap even more dust. So you need something to break that down, and alcohol is working very well. But hand sanitizers usually contains more than just alcohol. They usually contains a lot of other compounds, which is not necessarily a problem if you only use it as a hand sanitizer. But if you use it like I do, where you don't want any residue, you don't want anything else to still stick on the board or whatever you're cleaning, then isopropyl alcohol is a lot better option. So here I'm by hand removing some stuff that I just saw, and pretty much the same thing again. I'm just removing dust and just scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing because all that dust is sticking. I'm suspecting that this has been standing in the somewhere where people have been smoking a lot, because all the tar from cigarette smoke has a tendency to stick and become a really, really, really annoying problem in the long run. So I'm pretty sure that this has been used by a smoker. Either that or it has been standing somewhere where you have a lot of grease, like a kitchen or something like that. However, I think this my smoker's theory is a lot more valid in this case. And just keep on removing. I find it hard to believe that someone has had a mining rig standing in the kitchen. It feels silly. But yes, here we go again. Absorbing all the alcohol and all the dust and everything that I've been scrubbing off. There is actually one way that's a lot more effective than this, but I can't really do that with this type of electronics, and that's actually scrubbing it, putting it in a washing machine, or just put it under the sink and actually scrub it properly, scrub it off, and let it dry, and then put it together. That's the best way, no doubt. But you can't really do that with sensitive electronics. Some stuff don't really like that. Some things you can. I actually have actually done that before, where I've been cleaning motherboards in the sink, and then flush them off and let them dry up properly and make sure that everything is 100% clean and there is no corrosion and no other crap around it. Things are still working. So it's corrosion happens with time. So I guess it has a lot to do with that also. And here I'm still cleaning the front of the fan now. The backside is finished. So I'm just scrubbing off the front of it, of the whole assembly, just to make sure that I get as much away as possible. There is always gonna be some residue, unless you wanna go over it 69 times. If you wanna do that, then yeah, be my guest. But look at this. You see all of that and all the dust and all the crap that gets absorbed. That's just what was stuck on the outside of the graphics card, and nothing more. And I'm cleaning off the fans, or the fin of the fans, and cleaning off the corners again to get some more off. And you can see how much getting absorbed into that piece of paper. This is nothing fancy. This is just isopropyl alcohol, paintbrush with short bristles, and a piece of paper towel. That's it. And here I'm just scraping it off to see if I can get any more away. There's always going to be a little bit, because you can't absorb everything. There's always going to be some residue. But usually it's so small amounts, it's not really worth paying attention to. But on the front side of the graphics card, that's the first thing you see. That's what you want to be the cleanest. And here I'm actually running out of isopropyl alcohol, so I'm doing the best I can with what little I have left in my shot glass. That's what I'm dipping my brush in before I start scratching and going nuts. And yeah, as I said, isopropyl alcohol, it's no doubt the best friend you can have when you're working with these kinds of things. And if you're doing, no matter what you're doing with electronics, isopropyl alcohol is the best, because it's clean. It's 100% clean. You have no other crap in it, and it evaporates very quickly. And if everything is just clean and you don't need to clean it off like I'm doing here, putting the paper towel and absorbing all the dust and all the dirt and all the crap, then you don't really need to do much more after using isopropyl alcohol. I like using it when I'm doing soldering works because isopropyl alcohol takes all the flux and removes it fairly quickly and with very little extra work and very little need to put any extra work in, because that's what we're trying to avoid also, right? We don't want to do everything 2 times at once. When we finish with the work, we want it to be finished. We don't want to take it apart again and have to do everything one more time, because that's a waste of our time. And my time is just as precious as yours. So here I'm just brushing it off again around all corners and everything, just to make sure that I get all the alcohol away and get all the dust away and all the everything else. But you can see the paper towel that I put down. Now you can see why I put it down. Because all that dust and everything is collected into that paper towel, so I can just fold it together and remove it. And then I have at least a little bit less to do with my work pad, even though it looks... There is a lot of crap. Oh, if you thought we were finished? No, we are not. There is more shit coming. You just wait. Ta-da! It's the connector, the USB to express port. No, what is it called? Now my head completely stopped just because of that. Please help me in the comment section. Uh, I should know what it's called, but now my head stopped completely. But this is the last part, just cleaning off this port and making sure that it's as clean as possible. It doesn't have to be the cleanest. Here I'm actually making sure that I get as much dust as possible out of here. If I would have a small bottle, I would probably spray that down into there also a few times just to get as much as possible out, because it doesn't really matter in this case, because I'm gonna use hot air to evaporate all the alcohol, and I can't really speak, sorry about that. Evaporate all the alcohol away, so I'm sure that there is nothing left that could cause any issues. And as I said before, the alcohol isn't gonna cause any issues. The alcohol per se is not gonna be a problem. It's gonna be everything that's dissolved. Like if you're using hand sanitizers, for example, you're gonna find a lot of other stuff that they put in it because it's good for your hand and for your skin, but it's not really good for this because it's gonna leave a residue. The alcohol is gonna evaporate, and then you're gonna have a lot of other crap sticking. And if that stuff is conductive, then you're in problems. In this case, though, the I'm using isopropyl alcohol, so it's 100% clean. There is no additives and no other crap. Here I'm again using a hot air gun, about 150 degrees, pretty high speed, and it's just because I want to speed up the evaporation of everything. And this is about how long it took me to clean out one of these, and I did 7. So yeah, you can take 1 plus 1 and put them together. I actually thought I was gonna be smart, so I tried to do 3 at the same time. So I disassembled 3 of them and I started cleaning them one by one, and they did all the steps in 3 instead of just 1. So I followed everything step by step, but I didn't did it by 3 cards. And in the end, I just got confused. So I went back to this, and this worked a lot better just by looking at the fan assembly. There is, of course, there is still some dust. There is still some stuff that I don't get away. But as I said, if I'm gonna put all my time into cleaning these, into getting into 100% new looking shape, then I would have to sit for 4 or 5 hours with each card, and I don't really have that time. This video took me, yeah, about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, just getting it together. I mean, who have that to waste? I don't. But enjoy. This is the last part, so I'm just putting back some screws to put the fan back on. Or the fan and fan assembly, sorry. And I'm starting to get closer to finish this up. And after recording this narrative for this video, I'm I'm actually gonna go out with my dog. I'm not gonna edit anything right away. I'm gonna take my dog out because where I am at the moment, it's a 8:15. So it's starting to get not really late, but I want to get my dog out before it gets way too late. Because I'm, yeah. But yeah, so here I'm just putting all the screws and everything back together. And there we go. That was the last screw. Everything is back together. I'm gonna take a Q-tip and clean off the fan blades a little bit because it's just some residue. It's not really any dust. It's just residue that. But that's gonna happen every time if you don't do all the steps 6 times over. And I'm not gonna do that, and I don't really have time for that. That was a big chunk. I actually need to use my nail to get it off. Some of That's what I mean when it comes to grease and stuff like that. As soon as that gets stuck, then you have nowhere to go. You get stuck with all the grease. And that's why I'm removing as much as I can. Some of it is, I mean, as I said, if you want to go over them 6 times, do every step 6 times over and over and over again. Yes, of course, you're going to get the cleanest motherboard and the cleanest graphics card or whatever it is that you're cleaning on the planet. But that would take me months before I'm finished with this, and that's not really our goal. And even though I don't do all the steps 6 times over, they are still clean. They're gonna function perfectly. There's not gonna be any issues at all with this. Not in the slightest. And here I'm just looking everything over and trying to, yeah, here I'm feeling back. I actually removed this afterwards, but just for the video sake, I'm just attaching this, and that's basically just the power and USB adapter.